Hello and welcome to Top of the World. This is my Volvo BM2254 four-wheel drive. It's quite new to me. When we went to collect the trees off the side of the mountain a few weeks ago, for the first time the windscreen steamed up. And I kind of got this aroma of coolant and I'm like, oh no, not now. Anyway, we did that job, come back, offloaded the firewood, which has since been processed, and there was brown streaks down the side of the engine. So I knew there was some kind of coolant leak. And that mixed in with the oil that's leaking from the head gasket. Then when we went over to the other property, to where the creek is, where we picked up those huge fir trees, the spruce trees, same thing. I could smell coolant the whole time it's running. Anyway, I brought it back, parked it in the middle of the yard, processed the firewood. A couple of weeks later, got to do this because we got to get down into area 4 and pick up all those big trees. So it's time to crack into this. There's definitely a water leak and there's an oil leak. I know the oil leak's coming from the rocket cover gasket at the top of the engine. I can't get to the water leak because we couldn't get this off. So we're going to crack into this now because we need to fix the water leak. And I did buy a rocker cover gasket last year when we did the service. I just couldn't fit it because you can't get under there. Now it's time. Everything's quite tight for space in the top here, so we'll get that out the way and that will give us access to the exhaust so that we can take that off. And that wasn't actually connected to anything. Okay, that's not going to work. So we'll have to go old school. Old school, that was my knuckles again. Now what we've not got to do is, I can tell you by looking at the studs on this outlet, right, we don't want to touch any of that because this is all going to snap and break. These will never ever come undone, right? They're just going to break before you even start. So what you can't see this top part of the exhaust is flared and goes over this. And there is no movement in that at all. Is penetrating oil going to do us any good at this point? I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it very much. We're gonna start with a bit of easy persuasion. That's what we're going to start with. Okay. Easy persuasion's not going to loosen that up. So I've undone the exhaust bracket, and I've used a long screwdriver with a nylon end, not a plastic end, to slightly flare it, but it's not shifting. So I think what I'm going to do is take all the fixings out of this and see if I can manipulate this to allow me better access to that, so I can see what's going on. I didn't really have too many expectations of why I was loosening this, just that it would give me, I was hoping, some more freedom. I'll take you in this side. So this is now free. The flare goes up to there, so I need to part those two now without damaging the lower part. I need to somehow get that off, and I think I'll try knocking it with something from underneath to try and knock it up. I think that's just split me down. Yep. Now, what did I say was worst possible and where all the strain was? I doused it in WD-40. I've been levering and tapping and levering and tapping. Oh no. So we started with a water leak and now we've completely disabled the fracture. Sound good? You will? Right, and that's not the worst. The worst is now the inlet and the studs, and the whole thing is just well, it's broken, that's what it is. So instead of fixing the water leak, that's now going to cost me money, ain't it? Oh, God. What is caught on this damn thing? Oh, I don't even know. Wire and loom. Okay. Well, That's a fucking bad day, that is. Oh my God. I just don't even know what to say about all that. Weird, don't sound any different. I wonder what that exhaust does then. Yeah, that's weird, makes almost no difference, the exhaust. Anyway, there's the really bad thing. Right, was it already cracked? Yeah, you can see it was already, half of this material was gone. So, it was already quite damaged there. Anyway, I finished it off now, because, you know, bad casting. Oh well. Right, this is leaking right at the very top here. So I'm assuming since this is off of its element, right, and the pipes are all cracking, this whole lot needs taken out. Does it look like it's that? Yeah, it could be. Could well be. Right. So it's an easy fix to get over it, because I've just got to join this pipe here and this pipe here back together, and it bypasses where the leak is. So that's what I'm going to have to do to get it going. Oh, what the on earth. So we've got to do the rocker cover gasket. Look at all this, right? So we're going to have all this off. Well, I've got the gasket here. I can do that. But the exhaust manifold, you know, what's the chances of me being out at 0, right? And that means then I've got to tap and drill and all of that. And then it's still stuck in there. Right, at least now I can get it out of there and get it in a vise and get this out. But, yeah. Doesn't look in the oh, it's been re-welded. Okay, somebody's done this before and welded it. There's a weld. Oh, there's lots of welds. So it's been broken before in exactly the same place, and they've welded it back on. Great. Okay. Welded all the way around. Look at all that. It's all welds. It's all welded up. Okay. And that'd be why that looks like it does. Yeah, you can see the weld now. And that's why the exhaust comes halfway through, and while they didn't weld in that bit there while it's all dirty. Yeah, it's welded at the back. So that's not bad casting, that's weld. Great. Oh dear. That has to be time for coffee now, doesn't it? Good. What are we doing now? lots of room for activities in there. And the clean up. So I suppose why this is like this, because I didn't do it last time because I couldn't get access. Maybe we're warm enough where we can reconnect the water to the outside of the building. And get all this muck cleaned off. It's Good Friday today. My Sarah said it's Good Friday today. No, it's Bad Friday. Bad Friday. Right. It is the next morning. It's a beautiful morning. There's been a frost. It's about 3 or 4 degrees. I'll show you the yard in a minute. The transformation in such a few days is unbelievable. Casper's on his 3rd best day ever, because the last 2 days we've been in the forest and he's been running around. He's been in the cruiser. And now Dad's tinkering in the yard and there's no snow and ice. And I ain't got to keep rushing in with my gloves. And anyway, so I've had some time to think about this. So the mess that is in here, the snapped manifold here, right, did I snap that? Yeah, I did snap that, but it's been snapped before and it was welded back together. And the reason it's snapped is because, you know, the pipe that comes up is rusty and it's stuck into the exhaust. And all of this problem here, all of this is down to lack of maintenance, lack of money, lack of understanding, lack of knowledge. There's nothing but a lack of stuff here. And I'll be careful what I say, because 40% of my current viewers and subscribers are Swedish. Funny. Anyway, here in the north, everything runs on a shoestring, and that's done for a very, very long time. Also, it's very isolated. There's no contact with the outside world, computers, only what you see on television. Right? So for those that know, bear that in mind. Anyway, so everybody here is a landowner or, you know, forest worker or something like that, and this has been passed down through generations. And because this was welded and this was stuck, the cowling didn't come off and it's never been serviced at the top. So now I'm in here, I can see what an absolute mess it is, and we've got to get to the we've got to get the jet wash out, which we can do. I'm only thankful all this didn't happen a few weeks ago when we were using this on the mountain or anywhere else we were getting wood in. Now I've got 70% of all the wood in, and what's left I can't get in yet. So we got a window. Anyway, because I like to service things, even if I'm doing it on a shoestring, I can't allow myself to weld this back on because I'm going to have the same problem here with the exhaust. So, awesome parts, not genuine Volvo. I have had to order an exhaust manifold and a bend. Right, is that really painful? Well, you all know I've not done my snow ploughing because there's been no snow. So I've got no money. Last money I had come in was like October. Am I about butt shafted? Yeah. But I need the tractor. More than anything, because I can't do anything without this. Okay. So the easiest route around this for me would be to take these 2 top pipes off and join them together. Right, that bypasses this element. I've taken these pipes off this morning to look inside my fan housing because I had this really bad feeling. Well, what I can tell you is, not only was this welded and bodged back together, but there has been a lot of bar seal, a lot of sealant put in this heating system over the years. A lot. Also, I can tell you all the pipes are so old, they're just cracked. If I take one of those water pipes and I can just snap it, which means I've got to buy some hoses. So, oh, and the other thing I found, I will show you that, is there's a wire off here. I wondered why the heater, they don't have glow plugs, it's pre-glow plugs, so I wonder why the heater weren't working, it wouldn't start. I'll show you the mess I've got here. That's why, because this cable's off. And I haven't been able to see under here because this thing's been bolted on. So, I'm going to take all this out to see if I can solder and repair it. can I order up an element like this? No, but there are other heating elements that might be a similar or same size that perhaps I could get. And this valve is jammed shut anyway. There's just issues under it and I want to resolve them. I've got a small window where I don't need this, but I've just got to be really mindful of any money that I spend in the right place, because I'm going to have a problem in a minute if something don't happen. So, yeah, I'll get you in here and show you what I found this morning. It's not good. So, I'm surprised none of the fuses are blown, to be honest. He's having his best time, look. The yard is not only clear of ice, right, it's solid. So the water's drained away real fast. You can just about see this gully here, right? Every year this is opened right up. There's been such a small amount of snow drain off of the yard. There's still grass from last year in this. Normally this is washed out and there's a huge tract all the way down here. So we're doing good, I think. Good and bad. There's good and bad to all this. Right. Now I've taken the pipes off. Right, you can see what I've got in there. So this is a bad situation, is it? This element has gone here, yeah. It seems to be loose in that bracket. Anyway, I can't just take this out. I've got to take this whole unit out in these valves, and it seems like a particularly complicated way of the pipe work, but if I take you around the other side, here I've got my trolley out. Okay, we've got these water pipes here running through the oil filter base. Now, I don't know if this is a way of preheating oil or cooling the oil. I don't know. It's quite an interesting setup, though. These are water pipes. Now, I daren't bend them too much because they're gonna crack. So the water, this here, you can see the pipes all cracked. So this comes out one side of the water pump, and there's another one out the other side of the water pump, this one. And then they all come up here and they have this weird configuration going on here, all to do with this valve and in here. So if I take this off and this off, I've still got all this is seized in here, right? I've got like a thermostat heating cable here, and this is the valve that allows water to run through the heating element so you can get heat into the cab. And then air is sucked down through here via this fan and blown through these tubes inside into the cab. We got to remove all of that, work out where it is, and then if I'm going to put it back, I have to get a couple of feet of all this same hose and replace all of this, because this is all no good. The easiest and cheapest way, cheapest as in at no cost, would be to do away with the heating system. Do away with all those hoses, blank it off, do away, right, and then I'm left with yet another vehicle with no heat in it. Given that 9 months of the year it's below comfortable temperature, 6 months of the year it's frozen solid, I don't want to do that. I can't have like a good tractor with a comfortable seat and a cab, right, with doors and no heat. So I'm gonna dismantle all of this, join those two hoses together in a way that I can keep the tractor running whilst I'm trying to look at this. And then I need to, this is this wire that's off. Look, it's not been connected in a very long time. And then I've got to clean all this up, because we've got to have this off because we've got a new rocker cover gasket, and clean the engine and get rid of all this nasty stuff. So firstly, let's dismantle all this and get that off. And then I did yesterday, right, and I make it sound exciting, I never ever turn the water on until end of May, beginning of June. We are the 18th of April. 18th of April. This is how mad my world is. Ready? So, for as long as I've lived here, we have never had water in the yard until end of May, beginning of June. And I put the water on. So, fingers crossed it don't all go sideways, but I can't imagine it now. I mean, look at it. I'm still ploughing, normally. That's water. Are you having your best day? Can we get your bowl outside now? Can we? We've already got the main door to the factory open. Right. Oh, you've got your bowl. Okay, well, I'll have that then. Tack. Best day. Okay, let's see if I can dismantle all of that and get that out of the way, and then we can investigate as to what's happened. You know, it's obviously a blown element there. Couldn't be a hose, could it? Okay, so that's the bar that held on the washer bottle, and we're definitely loose. We can slide this out. Oh dear. Now there's a... We're attached to something there. I just can't see how that is attached. Okay, so this is the heating. Alright, well, I'll show you in there in a minute. So this is the heating element. Right, this bit that was wobbling looks like it's actually soldered into what should be a copper. It looks like directly there is the cause of the problem. And it's not blown, it's just age. Maybe. I don't know. Well, at least we got it off now. We can test it and see if it's repairable. But it definitely looks like this edge here, this is the cause of the issue. Right, let's have a look at the mess we've got in there then. I definitely said it was this side, and I'm leaning on it being something to do with this. Oh, no, that's not good. Oh, well, I suppose it exposes it better. Okay, well, now it's off, we can test that, so. And then this is the mess we've got in here. Now we're gonna have to clean all that up, else that'll rust the motor or corrode it out. So I think really we should remove this. There's only one screw holding this whole element on here. Take that screw out and remove the whole electric bit so we can clean it up. You can probably see in there better than I can. And then this fits to the underside of that heating coil, which still had some bits left in it. Yeah, here. So we need to remove those. There, that's how that works. Okay, let's get that fan unit out of there as well then. And there's that mess. Okay, we can clean all that up and save that, and hopefully we can fix that. So then the valve in there, that's jammed shut, and all these pipes are fragile, to say the least. So what I'm not going to do at the moment is take the manifold off, because at this moment all I need to do is join this hose here and this and that hose over there with a bit of copper pipe, right? And she can still run and work. The minute I take the inlet manifold off, the exhaust manifold off, well, she could still work, but at the moment it's tolerable. So we get these inside. This just needs cleaning up, right? And windings and everything checking. this needs finding the leak. Hopefully I can solder this and repair this. And now I think it's time to get the cover this up. Obviously cover that up. Don't go jet washing, cleaning without covering that up. And we need to clean all this off so we can see where we are. And then we can set to and change the gasket, and that'll cure the water and the oil, because the oil's definitely coming from the rocker cover gasket. So we need to get down in the cellar and get the jet wash machine out and really? Come here. Come here. Casper, come. Now I know you can smell something. Come. Oh, sit down. Be quiet. Just hush. Come. Come. You can smell something that you don't like. All right. Right, let's get all that done. Come on. Now why won't it do its thing? What are you doing? Spin. Supposed to do. That's better. We can, oh no, there's still a load in there. Okay, well I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay, it's not better. It's kind of all right, but I could do better. So let's fire it back up and do better. But we're getting there. Okay, we can see what we're doing now. So the next job to do is take the rocker cover off so we can replace the gaskets. It also gives us a little insight into the inside at the top of the engine. But yeah, that's could have done better with steam cleaner and degreaser, but we haven't got a steam cleaner, so yeah, let's grab them electrics, make sure they drain the water. Okay, that's much cleaner. Now we did do this last year, I know, so we just couldn't get underneath here because of that top cowl, which is not there anymore. So, okay, we'll let the excess water drain off of that while we take coffee, and then find out the gasket that I bought last year when I was doing all the bits and pieces, but we couldn't get to it. And let's replace that. It's also cleaned up the bolts on the manifold, which I know I'm going to need to free up and get off. And then we can take a look at this heating element and see if we can fix it. If we can fix it, it's worth the money to replace all the hoses. The hoses are not the end of the world, albeit they're probably 4 or 5 times more expensive than they were a few years ago. This one was a big job getting this off. This is so old. Is it the original pipework? I don't know. I don't know. But none of it looks very good. That's what I do know, and all of it's fragile, so it would be nice to put... Oh, that's all. You know, that's cracking too. It's like one of those jobs, every time you touch something, that's the bottom hose. Well, I can't even tell you what that feels like, but it don't feel like rubber. How do I know this is the right one? Because I've written red Volvo on it. Red, yellow. Okay, so we're going to replace this now. This is going to stop the oil leak that's been dripping down there. I suspect it probably hasn't been done for a very long time. And if it stops the oil leak, it's going to stop the build-up of muck and grease and crap that covers the top of the engine. That's where I am with it. Right, we're going to do this the old way with an Allen wrench because I haven't got the right size. Assuming I can get this in here, there's only 4. And I'm going to do it from the wrong side so that you get a better view. Well, that wasn't tight. Now I've got to be careful not to drop any of these because we're outside on the gravel. You know, anybody that works on gravel all the time, you just know that dropping anything is a nightmare. Albeit I've got glasses, lights, magnets, you know, I've got all of that kind of stuff as you need to have. Okay, easy does it. Oh, there we go. She's up. Yeah. Wow, that looks nice. Okay, let's get this breather hose off, which is not going to look nice. It's out of it. Nice. Definitely a very old gasket, but it's nice and clean in there. There you go. It hasn't done very many hours, so that's how it should look. You know, these old tractors, they do far more sitting than they do working. Well, this one has. Right, we can take that in, clean it up, and then get the old gasket out, which I'm sure is... Oh yeah, that's no use at all. Okay, let's go and clean that up and then we can fit the new gasket. We'll just check that's the right. Certainly looks like it. Yep. I would say that was the right gasket, that. Okay. Did it take me longer to get to the parts cleaner than it did to clean it? Yeah. And then I scrubbed it, and then I degreased the degreaser, and then I washed it in acetone, and now I've painted it. Was the rocker cover gasket the original from new? Yeah, pretty sure. Pretty sure. Whilst I was waiting for the first coat of paint to dry, I've cleaned up the fan unit, and I've now used compressed air to dry that out. I've cleaned up this unit and flushed it, and then put compressed air through that. I don't want to lose these little plastic bits because that's how I put the thing back on. So the edge at where this has come off, I'm pretty sure they're just silver soldered on. They might be lead soldered on even. Anyway, what I don't understand is why there's so much damage in this corner, and it sits in its unit like this, and I'm pretty sure it was this side to where most of the dirty water appeared to be. So I'm going to use the combination of this wow. Well, I can tell you what happened. Okay, I can see the leak points. So this has come disattached in its unit. Okay, and then because it's become disattached, the engine vibrating has moved this unit in here, and you've got these tabs. And without my glasses on, and I need my glasses, I can show you the holes. Now I have my glasses on with the sticker still on, so I know what strength they are. How strong are these ones, Simon? Bloody strong. Oh yeah, and that end. Yep, okay. You're going to like this. Not a lot, but you're going to like it. Right, let's see if we can put you in the right angle. Okay, hole number 1. There, see it? Hole number 2 in the same place, but on that bar. And that's where this has been sat in its bracket, vibrating. And it's actually, you can see the hole. There's one there. That one's less easy to see, but it's there. You can see it just in there. And that's it. And you can see it's worn through on the brass fin, one at either end. Okay. And that was caused by the malfunction of this bracket. Does that mean... Does that mean I can fix this? Oh yeah. Glasses. Yeah, I can fix that. We can fix that and then solder the bracket back on. And we can put it back together. And if only that manifold hadn't snapped, if only we could have got that exhaust off easily, this would have been, you know, we could have treated it like mid-season maintenance and repaired this and put it back together. Are they the hoses? Yeah, okay. Do the hoses need replacing? Yeah. Could I get away with leaving them? Yeah. Is it important I fix this leak though? Yeah. Okay. Right, I didn't even need to put it under pressure. I can actually see that. Right. Huh. Paint's dry. Went and had a bit of lunch. All nicely cleaned up. Let's get the top of the engine back together. Okay. The best way to do this. You don't want to squeeze the living hell out of your rocker cover gaskets, because they are only cork. Look at that. That's a lot better. That looks like Simon's been in there now, as opposed to nobody's been in there. Clean, real clean. Okay, good job. Let's see if we can't repair that now. Solder up both sides of that and that, because it's got a hole there and you can't, yeah, and there. So there is a hole just in there and there, and the same with this end. One there and one on the other side, and that is where it's been vibrating between these two on both ends. So the vibrating of the engine has been vibrating this unit, and it's done that, and it's holed both sides, and that's because this broke off of its fixings, and they're soft soldered, and that's how we're going to have to repair it. I can't silver solder in there because it's going to be too hot and it's going to melt the rest of the solder that holds all this together. So I've got to clean up this bit first so that I can reattach this like thus, and you can see where these bits go inside. They actually slide in there, and that's what's caused the damage there. That side and this side, and then there and that side. So we're going to clean it all up, and we're going to soft solder the 4 holes and clean all this up so that we can solder this back on. Although that looks like silver solder on there, doesn't it? No, I don't think it is. No. Okay, that's what we're going to try and do. And in order to do that, we're going to need tools, and that's where all this comes into play. So we have a little light switch under here somewhere. Okay, so the tools that we need to clean it all up with should be there. This will give us all our small tools to be able to clean that up with. That was easy. And then if we open this drawer, we should be able to look down upon everything we need to be able to fix it. All the various solders, fluxes, heats. This is plumbing, repair. I've got my silver rods there. We'll be using lead solder though. Little heaters. Everything that we need to be able to make our repairs are all in the one drawer. Goes back to don't show anybody your drawers. Okay. Have we got all the components we need to do this now? Yeah. What's that, Simon? Oh well, that's something else that's not been done. Move that out your way so you can see what we got here. I'm not sure whether this is soft solder or silver solder. Now we'll have a little look. That's lead solder. Okay, we're on a good one there then. Alright, so let's clean it up a bit. and it's really hot, but it's cleaned it up a bit enough to be able to see where the damage is on both sides. Yeah, they're soft soldered. So then when I say about not using a bigger propane set because, or not trying to silver solder it because it was soft solder, when you're silver soldering you need a lot more heat than soft solder, and then if you heat it up too much, what you'll effectively do is unsolder everything else. That's the way that this is assembled, and that's why I went in with the small heat gun first to see what it was, but because it melts at such a low temperature, I can tell you that's lead solder and not silver solder. Okay, we can clean these up now then, and then firstly I'll soft solder the 4 small holes, and then once we've cleaned this up we can resolder this into a position whereby it doesn't affect what we've done, and it won't vibrate and cause these fin holes again. So you're silver soldering into brass now. These, not these outer fins which are copper, the actual bits that carry the, I don't even know what they're called, to carry the water, they're made out of brass, and I can see that the brass has worn through, so we'll drill those holes slightly bigger and clean them up, and then I can drop soft solder in both sides of these and then soft solder that bracket back on. We can see there, pinhole, and then if we turn it over you'll get a better view of what I could see. There you go. There's that hole there, and then at this end that hole there. So we'll solder that, and then the pinhole on the reverse side of this, and then you can see we've got lead solder here. Once we've soldered that, we'll be in a position to solder the bracket back on. Well, once we've soldered these, we'll pressure test it, right, just to make sure that we've got everything, and then we can solder the bracket back into place. So I suppose we should talk about what you're going to repair it with. Well, I have this non-lead solder, which really doesn't work for me. Fortunately, I'm old enough and to know enough old people, I have lead solder. But what happens if you haven't got any lead solder, Simon? Well, use lead. Well, what happens if you haven't got any lead? Well, of course you've got lead. You just got to know where to look for it. And that'll fix those up nicely. So we need flux, and we need lead solder, and you need a fine source of heat, not a soldering iron. You can't use an iron in there, it's no good. And then we'll set to and see what's what. So whilst doing the original side that was broken, I decided to turn it over and look at the side that was still good, which actually wasn't still good. So I don't know if I've got to do a bit more work on that. I can't get the solder to suck under that lip. I need it to cool down so I can have a proper look at that. So after I'd done the bad side, I turned it over and realised what was still hanging on there, the good side, was also bad. So I've resoldered both of them now, and I've soldered up and repaired the holes. So now we're good with that, and we've cleaned this. Right, they go together like that. We just need to put a piece of foam in there between the two, and we're good. Every time I do a pressure test, I have to think of new ways of doing it. Oh yeah. Okay, got that perfectly. Nice. It's always a relief when you're soldering up something old and you're trying to clean up metal. So that's both brackets fitted and everything done. Now I have to put this thermostat cable back in here in the way it was before I connect it to that. Something else that I noticed when I took this apart, which could have been a contributing factor, is that this has to sit into the hole ready to go back together, and then that copper element has to go round here, and then these two fit like this, okay, sandwiching in that in between, and then the air is drawn down through that, through this, and blown out through the side. Well, there was foam rubber holding these two slightly apart, which wasn't there. Now, over time, if that had disintegrated, that would have allowed play in the bolts or extra vibration. So we've got some door and windowsill here. We're going to renew that before we put it back together, so that there's some kind of cushion in between the two, which is, from what I saw come off there, very similar to what they had on there, something like this. There, like that, and then that will sit back on there with the bracket there for the water windscreen washer bottle, and then we can go and reassemble all that now when we fixed it, and we've repaired both sides of the brackets in a way that they should last Well, they should outlast me. So, good job. So we are going to reassemble all this now because we've done the rocker cover gasket. We've repaired the radiator. We've cleaned out the fan, tested the fan. We've pressure tested the radiator. We can go and reassemble the fan assembly and the radiator. We could push the hoses back on, fill her back up with fluid and run her up and test her, although I've done the pressure test now. Yeah, so it's just that exhaust. Just could I put all this back together and weld that exhaust? I could do, but I've already ordered the new manifold, so we need to have that so that exhaust just pops off and we can get to the underneath, because I know we've got to have it off at least one more time this year, right? But if you want to clean it and keep it regularly serviced, you've got to be able to just whip that exhaust off and change it. And if you just weld it back on, the same thing's going to happen to me or somebody else. So yeah, I want it so that it's easily serviceable. Servicing is part of machinery ownership, I'm afraid. All right, now then, I've been told, well, I'm not working today because it's Easter Sunday. Is my Sarah listening? Probably, because I'm supposed to be on a rest day. I've pulled something in my... Anyway, is that really painful? Did I get much sleep? No. But it is a nice day out there. Not so warm today. Okay. Great. Pleased with that. And actually I took the opportunity to paint this before it goes back in. And I've clipped this cable back on here. Kind of all goes back together. Like that, and then I have to lift it up and bolt it back into this bracket. Right. Much easier to take it out than it is to put it all back in. So that goes to that like that. Washer, nut. Maybe that slid under those. Oh, it did. Okay. That went underneath those. Side brackets. Yeah, that's how that went. Do the same to the other side. So, if this heating element is higher than the top of the radiator, how do you ensure the system is always full? Because if there's any reduction in water capacity, this is going to empty first, right? Because this is the highest point. Well, that's fascinating. That is fascinating. Okay. Right, that's that all fixed. Fan housing back on. Now we can reattach all the heating hoses, the air blow hoses. Okay. Well, not particularly happy about putting this back together with all these hoses like this. We are going to change these hoses. We're just not going to change them now. See if we can't get paid first, and then when we get paid we can spend some of that money on some hoses. Hopefully. Okay. Alright. Well, that is back together in the same way it was. And we fixed this, and you can see there this nice mass of solder holding it all together. So the cause of it all was the original solder housing the heating element onto this bracket had broken. This then vibrated up and down with the engine and wore itself through both ends of that heating element. And now we're all soldered up back together, bolted in, and we're good. Now I've put the bracket back onto the windscreen washer bottle, only to discover on the other end of the pipe, the bit it plugs into that washes the windscreen's obviously old and snapped off. And the other thing about having this big bottle here is the windscreen wiper don't touch the windscreen and the blade and all of that. And I'm not even sure if a windscreen washer bottle is particularly relevant on this tractor. Steady. Okay, that had lost a lot more fluid than I thought. I haven't left the hose off, have I? Right. I'm quite amazed, you know, with that much fluid gone, that didn't run hot, if I'm honest. Right, it's going to use more because we're going to have to get the stat to open and pump the water around. To which we could actually leave that off. And then we'll see when the stat does open. Battery flat. well, that's just, obviously I've left something on, and batteries in this place. Turns out it didn't need much of a charge. Whilst I was waiting for the charging, I put a new socket on the engine heater. Maybe it is a bit louder than it used to be. Well, I don't understand. Was there an oil leak on the other side? No. Is there oil now leaking out of the oil pressure sensor? Okay, so we've got no water leaking from this, fix that. We've got no oil leaking from the rocker cover, fix that. What I don't even understand. Right, we had no oil down this side. Right now we've got oil weeping out of the oil pressure sensor. Well, we didn't have that before. And it's not like we're building excessive crankcase pressure because there's nothing coming out the breather. That water stripping is just, I think, that's where I've just washed off the spillage so that I could see if there was any fresh water coming out there. I don't know where that, but I don't think so. Because otherwise that would mean we'd have a leak in the main radiator, and, you know, and at that point then I'm dragging myself off up the forest. Right. Okay, well, we haven't touched that, so we'll just try giving that a little turn to see if it makes any difference. If not, then, you know, that's the oil pressure sensor now. Right, so this is the oil pressure sensor. The oil's weeping from inside here, and you can see there's nothing I can do on the back to tighten it up to stop the oil from weeping out of where the sensor is for the oil pressure gauge, the oil pressure sensor. So somehow that's managed to end its own life by coincidence while we're doing all this, or it was already leaking a little bit and we didn't notice. Oh, we didn't notice because of all the other stuff in there. So all I can do is put it back in. So what I'm going to say about that is that was already seeping a bit and we didn't notice the oil because it's lower down and we didn't notice it. And it has used a little bit of oil, which might account for what was seeping out of the top and the bottom. We have fixed the water leak, and we have fixed the oil leak coming from the rocker cover. So I suppose the next thing we should do is wet down these bolts with some WD, let it all soak, and see if we can get this manifold off when it cools down. The new one hasn't arrived yet because I only ordered it yesterday and today's Easter Sunday, so but it should be here this coming week, and because we don't get postal deliveries every day here either, and then we can pop it right back on. I've also got to separate the top exhaust pipe from the snapped off bit. Whilst it's got a bit of heat in it, I'm wondering whether I shouldn't tempt fate. That one under there's got to be a spanner. That's what I was expecting. Okay, that one's gone. That one's gone. See if I can get on this one a bit better with a wobbly end. Yeah, looks like it. Why is that loose? Now that's loose on that bottom stud too. So I'm not... Careful, Simon, you're gonna... Right, so this stud down here, that's also loose because I haven't undone that yet. So seems like that weren't on very well. Yeah, this end wasn't done up. Wonder if this has been off before. I suppose I have to believe it because I'm looking at it, right? There you go. There's that nut and washer. Straight off the back of that manifold. Well, that saved me some aggro, right? Not quite sure. Looks like this stud started to come out and now the nut has decided it wants to come off. I know the stud has come out. Okay, that's good. That's what we wanted. There you go. We wanted those studs out because we bought new ones, so. Okay, only one of the studs has come out. Well, that could have been a lot worse, right? That could have been a lot worse. Right, well that's the manifold off. We can see the welds much easier now. So because the welds were on the inside, this was obviously taken off when this was welded up and put back on badly. We will be getting new gaskets with that, albeit this one, it was blown through that where it weren't done up tight. So what we want to do now is we want to get these remaining 3 studs out, and we can do that by winding 2 nuts. Wind one nut on, wind the other nut on next to it, lock the 2 nuts together, and we should be able to wind the stud out. See if I can get you in at a bit better angle so you can see what I'm doing. So this is the stud we're going to attempt to remove. I'm going to try and do it this way first before I start welding nuts onto studs. Now I'm in trouble because I can hear my Sarah coming. What did she say to me today? You've got to have a rest day. Right, does it look like a rest day? No. Yeah, there we go.
What do you think you're doing? Here.
Ah, that's my lunch. Right, we'll end it there and we'll carry on with this afterwards. Right, it's warmed up enough now that we can come outside. So, what I'm tempted to do is hammer up the side here and try and split this even further, but it seems delicate. I'm going to try heat first, and I've got another bottle because one of them's out, and it looks like it's going to rain or snow. I was taking the snow chains off the tractor yesterday, and I'm laying on the ground undoing the chains, and it started to snow. Okay, I can see movement. Oh, that's hot. Oh, it's snowing. Really? Come on. There you go. Out. All right. And that's the result. Okay. suppose what I should try and do while it's still hot is bend this back into shape. Okay, we'll get a wire brush now and clean that on the inside, ready for reassembling. Look at this ball. Darn near just got killed by the postman. He's come in the yard and I'm over there doing the sawmill. I thought I'd just start resurrecting the sawmill while I'm waiting for the parts to arrive. He's done this big white sweep in the yard. First of all, I was thinking, well, he's coming over me. No, he turned. Oh, okay. So I'm wandering across the yard and I'm kind of in his mirror, and I crossed over behind the van to go into his other mirror, and suddenly the reversing lights come on. And I'm like, what's it? And I moved quick. Just a good job I did. He come flying past me and stopped. Land Cruiser. Didn't even see me. Didn't see anything. All that man saw was the Land Cruiser. Now, do I think the Land Cruiser was equivalent to a really long pair of legs and a very short, or no? Yeah, does that to men, really? Yeah, anyway, I've got my parcel. So all we got to do now is hope I'm as good at ordering as I am jumping out of the way of fast reversing post vans once they've seen the Land Cruiser. Yeah, there you go, baby. Right. That looks like the right shape for that, and this looks like the right shape for that. So, we are doing well. Alrighty then. And we should have washers, nuts, bolts, studs, everything we need. Right, no, don't go nowhere. Whoa! Yeah! Oh! Hey! Oh! It's actually so loud to make my ears ring. Hey! Did you want to have a go? Okay. Oh! Cool, isn't it? Right. These studs don't look like the right ones. They're not the same. Now what I normally like to do is put these studs on with two nuts. I haven't taken the old studs out because I was a bit wary of taking them out. And now I'm warier of taking them out because these studs they're not the same. I might have been wise not to take these old studs out yet. They're shorter. I might have to leave them in. That might not even be long enough. Oh yeah, okay. That one's long enough. Right, I'm going to leave them other old studs in. I am. Now, that needs washers. I don't know why it didn't come with washers. No, it didn't come with them. Okay. I wonder why that didn't have washers. I think that needs to have washers on it. But it didn't appear to have come with them. So, I don't know why that is. We definitely want to. I definitely want to put washers on that. I need to go and get new washers. They're not lock nuts, are they? Yeah, they might be. They got little impressions on there. Okay, let's go and get some washers. That's that on. Now what I could do is I could put these studs in with Loctite, or oh no, when I got my exhaust paste and the tube, the plastic is less viable than the paste. So the tube is now split. So like I was saying, I could put these studs in with Loctite, or I could just throw them on the floor, and then when I pick them up, I could put them in with exhaust paste. Because we don't have a gasket for this, we're going to put it on with exhaust paste anyway. I was going to say there's a bit of brass on brass action, but it ain't. There's no washers for these either. There you go, smear it all over. I'm going to have to go and find washers for this as well. Well, that's a nuisance, isn't it? Keep having to go back to the washer tub. Anyway, just as well I've got plenty. these studs also seem short. And I put the short end in to the housing and left the long end sticking out. So I don't know what's going on with the short studs, but well, we could test it, but the battery's flat again. Constant, I don't know why. I took the battery charger off of this and I put it on the sawmill to charge it up, and now it won't start anyway. So since there's a bit of smoke coming out of there and we've done everything up tight, we're going to assume that's all right and put the rest of it back together. My friend across the road, he popped in yesterday to prod and poke and criticise and laugh and, you know, be amazed. And when he realised what I was, because I asked him, I said, did you weld this up? Anyway, he said he's never put a welder to this machine that he can remember. But he did say, when I put it back together, can I put the exhaust the right way? There's two things visually when you drive this that are so wrong with this tractor. The exhaust, the wrong way around, and that dent in the front. So here's the fix to one of them. So the exhaust used to be on a tractor like this. Right, makes no sense. Stupid. Put it on the right way. That's how it's supposed to be. Like that. Now, the question is, how much do I want it to go down? I actually think that's fully seated. Yeah, just like that. Right. Yeah, that's better. So that's the way the exhaust pipe's supposed to be fitted. You got this crease damage on the exhaust pipe there. That is where that hit that with such force it creased that in and snapped the manifold. So somebody drove into a tree, garage, plank, board, something, and that was when that damage there occurred, when it hit this, and that's what snapped the manifold. So we have a new manifold, new bend, the exhaust is in the right way. We've replaced the head gasket, which is going to stop the oil leak. We've repaired the heater unit, which is going to stop the water leak. Unless I'm very much mistaken, all I have to do is that and that, and it should be ready to go back to work. Oh, this. I put a new and that's how you do that. Would have been a lot easier if I didn't have to wait for the parts for that broken exhaust. Anyway, no water leaks, no oil leaks, because we've already run the engine up without the exhaust on. So now we've got the exhaust on, facing the right direction. We go back to work. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.